Right. Feel lost without my gavel.
Probably got a hammer in his van.
Took our gavel away.
They did, come on, took
We don't have a gavel, we can't do this. We don't have a Bible. There's problems. There's big problems. You got
1 minute.
37 seconds to get a Bible and a gavel. Stony put it in the grave. Bless his heart. Thanks. Stony took it.
Stony took it.
He did. We don't need a gavel.
No, we don't need one.
We're this one, yeah.
I just
I would
not
like
like
y'all. Y'all are paid staff and we're just here. Mr. Rick
Calling the Land Use Board of Union County this day, Tuesday, August 15th to order. But would let's give a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Buckle, would you pray, please?
Yes, sir. Bow your heads, please. Lord, we just come to you tonight with, Lord, with heavy hearts. We've had a great loss in our county of Chairman Stoney Rushing. So, Lord, I just ask that I lift up Anne Marie to you. I lift up Reagan to you and Riley. All his father, Rocky Rushing, and his mother, Connie. And I just lift up all the family members, Lord, to you. And Lord, as the county moves forward, we pray for wisdom. We pray for guidance. And Lord, as always, we ask for your protection. Lord, just give us wisdom here at this board to seek your will and to try to make the most just decisions we can make. And just thank you for the opportunity to live in this great place. This great place, this great county, Union County, located in this great country, the United States of America. Lord, we love you, we praise you, and we just thank you for everything you do for us, everything you've done for us. Because, Lord, we know that every good and perfect gift comes from you, and Lord, we are truly blessed. We love you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Now we move into the oath of office. Ms. Griffin, you swear me.
I just read it. I, Darren Green, do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a member of the Union County Land Use Board. So help me God. I, Darren Green, do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will faithfully and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the Constitution and powers thereof, and the authorities which may be established for government thereof. And I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of the United States and of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God. I, Darren Green, do swear I will well and truly execute the duties of the office of a member of the Union County Land Use Board according to the best of my ability and skill, according to the law, so help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
It is a blessing.
Look forward to serving with you.
I know you. All right, with that, established voting members, we have one member missing tonight, so we will, if it's okay, we'll move Mr. Clancy Balcom. It's gonna be hard, because we've got two Balcoms. We'll move Clancy into the voting tonight. The other Mr. Balcom will be the next time, so make sure you make a note of that, Ms. Ames. Since he prayed, I'll let him be here tonight. Just so you know, that's not uncommon. So for both of you, y'all might both be here voting, but remember that you have to be here nonetheless, because you never know when something might happen.
Right. Yes, sir.
Clancy will vote tonight, sir. You'll vote next time.
Okay.
That's gonna be hard for me, Balcom and Balcom.
It'll be easy.
Balcom A, Balcom B.
You got so many Balkans, you get too used to us.
Pretty Balcom. Okay, first item is the planning board, approval of minutes, planning board June 6th, 2023. Well, we need to establish voting members, right? We done that yet? I think we just did, right? Everybody, but, yeah, okay. So, planning board, June 6th minutes, is there any discussion on those?
Well, we need to get the additions or deletions first.
Or are there additions?
Got the rules of procedure, if you guys want to talk about those at all, or do you want to take, did they need to take action tonight, Kelly, or did they take a month to review them and?
If you're comfortable, I would prefer you to take action tonight, since there are rules and procedure, and you have, it's.
We do have rules and procedures, if anybody's got those. They're in what tab?
They're outside.
And these,
You got it separately.
that group that he gave.
We handed those out, and so if y'all want to look at them, we will, is that okay with everybody if we talk about those? So we'll add those to the end of the agenda after we deal with the case that we're dealing with, so. After the planning staff report, we will deal with those, okay? Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
All right. Any other additions or deletions? Not hearing any, we'll move on to, yes, sir.
Since the people's not here, could we do this first? Go over this while we're waiting on the.
Are they coming?
We had to talk with Kelly and Lee just now, because the reason why I showed up at 6 was because I was doing other things, because I had it on my schedule for 7, which is what was notified in the letter.
Okay. Well,
And
then we
so
will,
what we're getting at
thank
is.
you, Mr. Bjorn. And
Yeah, and
given
I-
that case, we will back up and we will do some approval of minutes, and then we'll talk about some
Lady report.
rules, and then we'll see where we are. We might take a break, because I don't want these folks not to be here. Right?
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Did we mess that up? Or is that just,
No, I think that's fine. We'll get back there.
I'm just asking, did we mess that up, sir? Huh. Were they told 7?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
it's not.
No, I thought you meant, yes, we.
Y'all messed it up.
Yes.
Yeah, I like
I
it.
messed
I just wanted to make sure that, yeah, so that thing they're supposed to be here at 7, I don't want them to roll in here at 6:45 and we could be gone and done made a decision. So guys, just so y'all know, we might be here a little bit, because we might have to take a siesta. Because I don't know how
Right,
it's
I've
gonna
got some
take this
pizza.
stuff. So let's, we will put the discussion on the rules of procedure ahead of agenda item zoning case CZ 20003. So, and we might have to have an extended period of time. Do you have anything to entertain us, Janice? Janice, yeah. Okay, planning, approval minutes, planning board, June 6, 2023. So, do we have those minutes? None of us were there, so anybody have any questions Any comments?
I have a question. How, if we were not there, how can we approve the minutes not knowing what happened?
You can approve them, and it's kind of a weird situation, but you can approve them, you can rely on, Amy's representations or anyone else who was there.
But what kind of situations does that put us in, though, if we approve them and there is something wrong with them?
Well, I would say unless you have some sort of, information that something is incorrect on there, then you do have a duty to vote, one way or another to.
Okay, but we can't take their,
We have to trust that.
just, we can trust them as,
You
okay.
can trust, and if
Okay.
you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to vote. If you don't vote, it's going to be counted as an affirmative vote, however. But, you know, governing bodies are supposed to be continuous, really, in nature, and they don't really stop when members leave or join. So it's a very good question, and it's an unusual situation, but
I would think too that if they wanted to go back and watch video, it's online. If you want to take a month to do that.
you can. There's really no time frame that we have to approve them, so
I
if
think
you
we're
feel
good.
more comfortable watching.
I don't
online,
think we need to. It's kind of a situation where three of us met to close up business on the Board of Adjustment. I'm pretty sure they did the same thing, so I trust Amy.
I do. That's good. I just want to clarify that.
So is there a
Motion to approve.
motion by Mr. Tilley? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Board of Adjustment, June 29th. This is us. Remember that? That was fun.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
We were only three there, so I agree. It was good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Land Use Board, July 3rd. That's the meeting when
Training
you
session.
guys were sworn in, and I wasn't there. I was, on, yeah,
Vacation.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'll make a motion to be approved.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, you got that, Miss Amy? You want to talk about that? Well, that's why we pay you, man. So now we're gonna go ahead and look at the, rules of procedure for the new board that we are. So we have plenty of time, I believe, plenty of time to look at this. If anybody, let's just read it. I'm not reading it out loud, but if y'all wanna read it, and we'll bring back, is anything you wanna point out, Mr. Jensen,
This
the
is,
director of all things?
for the most part, this is very similar to, I think, the rules of procedure you were operating under before. There are some modifications that we had to make, just due to the fact that there's some differences in, I guess, some state statute now. There's some state statute references changes that changed. There's some sort of different nuances here and there in the conflict of interest provisions for Board of Adjustment versus Planning Board. So we ended up just creating two separate sections for evidentiary hearings, Board of Adjustment stuff versus Planning Board items. But I think when you look through it, I don't think there's a lot of difference. Your terms changed a little bit. I think your terms last time were, I think, were in May. This time your term started on July 1 and run to June 30th. Amy's title used to be secretary to the board, now it's clerk. I think Kelly, that's a statutory change. Is that something in the general statutes, or is that just a language?
It is, yeah,
Okay.
so we're trying to
Last
keep that
caller,
consistent.
Madam Clerk.
Yep.
Okay. Amy, Madam Clerk, Your Honor. What do I call you, Lee?
Whatever you want to.
Sure. We've known you a long time. Me and Mark. Yeah.
Rules of conduct, it talks about attendance, just come to the meetings if you can, come, let Amy know prior to
Right.
not coming, but it's really nice for us to know if you can make it or not.
Right.
Just so we can tell Darren or Rick if if Darren can't make it,
Right.
you know, if we're gonna need to appoint alternates or not. Because I usually discuss, I don't discuss cases, but generally discuss the outline of the meeting, who's gonna be there, who's not, with the chair, you know, a day or two prior to.
Well, so Amy knows tonight Clancy's voting. So-
I have
Yeah.
a sheet in my book.
So going forward, you know, next time it'll be him.
Yep.
There'll be a post-it
The other
note.
Balkum. It's gonna be hard because they're Balkums.
There'll be a
You got
post-it
this?
note in your thing that
I
says.
know, Balkum,
you
Balkum,
should
you
vote.
got this?
I got it.
I'm trusting
I
you.
promise.
Because the two Balkums, because even Stoney told me, he said, we're gonna appoint two Balkums. Can you have that? I said, yeah, I can. So, so Clancy and I, but both of you might, next meeting, we might have two, because there's 7 of us.
Yep.
Not uncommon. When we had 5 sometimes,
That's true.
2 weren't here, so.
Right.
You'll keep that, right? Thank you, ma'am.
Now, what does it take for a quorum now?
It's a majority of the board.
5.
So you
So
gotta
it's-
have 5.
So we've gotta have
We gotta have 4.
5.
You got, how many members do you have?
Your quorum is 4.
Yeah, you got 7 regular
Oh, 4.
members, so you gotta have 4.
Gotta have 4, okay.
So it can't be more than your grass.
Yeah, you're right. You're
So
right.
did I hear us say we need to tell Amy we're coming?
Yes.
Okay.
Please let Amy know. if
Just
you're
email
coming
or-
not.
Yeah.
Now, she normally sends emails
She
to
sends an
remind all
email
of us.
out and-
Oh,
So you can
okay.
just reply to that email.
Okay, I think
And
that's
if,
what we
uh,
did this time.
If there's an issue, if it comes down, I can't imagine with 9 of us that we can't get 4.
I think we should.
But,
be able to.
but please let her know, because that's very important, especially come July and summer and everybody's on vacation and the 2 Balkan boys are sitting on the beach and everybody's.
We also, you know, if we don't have a quorum and we know that beforehand, we can always communicate to
We
the
can,
applicant that.
Right,
on a quorum.
we can always change the meeting. We don't want people to show up and there's not enough here to do the meeting. That's not cool. So,
Just another little tidbit here, I'm sorry, were you?
no, I'm just gonna say, we got plenty of time, so if everybody wants to take a minute and, let's just take, well, you talk.
Yeah,
Talk to you.
I was just.
Talk to you, can't talk no more. and then-
Yeah, another slight difference is that motions don't necessarily require a second.
Right.
So,
Yes.
you know, somebody makes a motion, it doesn't necessarily have to be seconded, that's the way this is drafted. So, if you want to have a second for a motion, you can, we'll just need to put that in here. But if you don't, you just have to remember, if somebody makes a motion, that means you've got to vote on it.
Right.
You can't say it dies for lack of a second.
Right.
Since we're going to be going through the Board of Adjustment, also, it will still require a second one.
No, these are just, these
So
are
this-
these are the rules.
Okay. Your new rules will cover the whole board, so. I'm okay with not.
Hey Kelly, if I say
That's fine,
something
man.
wrong, you just jump in and.
That's why
Once
you're
it's-
here,
once
and
it's
I
a motion,
appreciate it.
it's
So
gotta
you
be
have no
voted
idea.
on.
I'm sorry, right, once there's a motion, it's gotta be voted on.
There's a motion, I don't have to have a second, we vote.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't mean, if somebody wants to second it, you can, that's fine.
Well, yeah, we don't need a second though.
Right.
We don't need a second to have a motion to adjourn, right? Motion to adjourn, Mark says we adjourn. All in favor? Good.
Cool. So I have a question, Darren. At the risk of sounding ignorant, we will get an agenda every time we sit in here,
Yes, sir.
and we run down that agenda, correct?
Right.
Now, she normally has these agendas just like we've got now. She'll lay them out
She'll
for us.
print those, and if you want them in advance, she'll provide those.
We post those on there's a county website that we post those to.
Yeah.
We'll send you a link.
And we apparently have a new county we have you are now a county important person. You have a county email, so.
Okay.
That's what that sheet is.
So from now forward, our personal one won't be used anymore, it'll all go through the government.
Yeah.
We would encourage
Now,
you.
I highly encourage that
Yeah.
Your
because
first
of
time in
issues that might come up.
is that, and the password is that,
Uh-huh.
planning
The
one.
password for
Then you change it when
your
you go
email
in.
is Amy is cool.
Change it to yours.
Should have done that.
Otherwise, Amy will get in them all.
Okay.
I will bring that up to say that, given the responsibility we do have, in the past, there are some issues that come up, and they may, should ever our emails get subpoenaed, that happens. So do everything through the county email.
Yep.
Don't do it through your personal email.
You got it.
We've done that in the past because we didn't have this previously, and some of us had our personal emails subpoenaed, so you don't want that to happen
I do not.
because you don't want your wife's, I love you, Clancy, you cute.
Yeah, that's right.
And so let's stick to this, and the county will communicate via this, is that right?
I will for a couple of months, just send you an email.
Well, let's all try,
Both ways.
let's all try to hook up to this.
Both
To your
ways.
personal email that just says, go check the county email. And that'll let you know that
Thank
the
you.
agenda is out. And down at the bottom of that sheet, that's how you can get on the county's website
Yes.
and pull up all the agenda information for the meeting prior to.
Not that we're doing anything wrong, we just don't want no, you
Mhm.
just, yeah. I mean, but trust me, we didn't do nothing wrong before.
That's right.
You just don't want your personal email.
Yes, sir.
It stood up against the Supreme Court, but, I think, but
And
stick with this.
To your point about the agenda, we'll try to get that out usually a week in advance, so you'll have time to go online, download that agenda, read it. And then from time to time, there could be like tonight, I'll communicate to the chair that we might want to add something, like the rules of procedure. We might want to add those, so
Mhm.
that's why we did that tonight. So that's why there's that additions and deletions, so you may get, I may throw you a curveball every once in a while, but I'll try to keep those to a minimum.
Appreciate that.
He does, he's a good guy, he's been around a minute. Brent, you remember him when he was a little guy, he was,
Yeah, I remember him.
he was a nobody. We didn't even know his last name.
That's right.
He would just leave.
That's right, just leave.
Look at him now, he's pretty. So, because we don't know when they're gonna come, so, should we wait?
I've got a question to go
Go
going
ahead,
through these.
all the time in the world, I just,
Where it's talking about the meetings
yeah,
on page 5.
you bringing up the Adele Road?
Yeah. Where it says, unless the meeting's in closed session, why would, we've never, with the Board of Adjustment, we never had a closed session.
We did, were you not there?
It was closed. So why does the land use board have a closed session?
We generally won't.
It's very rare.
I don't think we've ever,
No, we did.
we did?
We did because of that little email situation,
Oh,
so.
was
And
that?
we also, when we was in the other, on the top floor, had a couple.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's gonna
it's
be-
very rare,
it's
and we
rare.
hope we avoid that.
Yeah.
That's our job, buddy, to keep them out of that trouble. But yeah, it could happen, because of, potential lawsuit issues. That's Kelly right there.
Get that sheet.
We might, there might be an issue where,
It's a freaking out.
we need to consult based on lawsuits.
Who do I need to find?
I think the email is a good example to, to take advice about what to do, how to preserve emails, things like that.
It's a legal issue, right?
But you're not gonna make any, I
It's
don't
very
think
rare.
you would ever make a decision or talk about, a lot of things about one of these cases. But I don't think you've ever really done that.
It's not a matter.
He didn't get an agenda.
Oh, I'll give you that.
I've been sitting here panicking the whole time, trying to figure this thing out, you know?
Clancy, we're on item 3.
Okay.
We're on
Okay,
page 5 of the rules and regulations.
Search is already finished.
Welcome.
We're out there with
Glad you're here.
Kevin and
And you're the voting member tonight.
Man,
Yeah, so, no, I believe that the issue might be that, in that situation where
Yeah,
there's a
Yeah, you
decision
just
made
leave
that
it.
somebody sues us, then, if somebody was to sue us, it happens. It happened. I've been on here, how long have we been on here? It happened
20-some
a couple-
years.
It's a couple times it's happened. One time it went further than we thought it would go. And so, if they sue us, then there's a lot of stuff involved and legal gets involved. And so there are, potential for us to have a closed meeting, but it's very, very rare.
I would like one little amendment made on the, if everybody agrees, of course.
What page?
On the, well, I'm looking for it, the one where it says the 3 hours.
Right down there.
Yeah,
Time limit.
5
Bottom of page
Six.
Bottom of page
or
6.
6.
Bottom of page 6.
Yeah, bottom of,
Bottom of six.
yeah, bottom of 6.
Bottom of 6.
Bottom of page 6.
Go ahead.
All right, I would like that to be where, if we're running into something and where we probably just need just a little bit longer, that somehow that's written up where we can take a vote.
I believe it is.
You
though.
can.
It says
It is?
It's in
Maybe
there.
extended if a
It says
majority
you-
of voting members present.
Okay.
vote to-
Yep.
Yeah,
Do
number
so.
7.
We've had that happen.
Yeah.
Yes, we have done that a few
We
times.
don't want to be here past 9 PM, but there are times when, if we're like 30 minutes away,
Yeah.
do we want to come back next week?
No.
Or do we want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
So we have to vote to do
Well,
that.
I will say, one of the times that we voted to do that, we ended up past 11 by a few minutes.
Yeah, we did. I ain't gonna lie. It might mean 2 hours versus what we think might be 30 minutes. But are y'all okay with that?
Yeah.
So that's- It's in there for us to vote,
It is.
but I don't wanna come back. I don't think nobody wants to come back next week for another meeting. If we can wrap it up in an hour. We think it might take an hour, it might take 2. I guess if we get
But just
to 11
remember,
o'clock and we ain't done yet, then we can vote, clearly we can vote to go home.
but the main thing I always seen in it, if you come back for the second round,
That's-
over half of it is spent recapping
we
first
can't when we
round.
started.
Yep.
You don't want to do that. That's the Adele rule, and we should bring her in here and just give her a crown or something.
Yeah.
Mark and I served with our friend, Miss Adele, from out in Fairview, and that was her rule. No, that was her rule. She was a sweet member. She was very sweet. That was her rule, and she didn't want to be here all night long. That was back in the day when we were here all night long sometimes.
Yeah.
And she had a rule, and we voted on it, and we passed it, and that was a good rule, because there were times when we were here at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and that wasn't cool. So, it's better to come back when it gets that late, but, so, are you good with that?
Mhm.
That we have to vote on?
Absolutely.
So at 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, we'll talk about it, if we're still there. Because now the thing is that we are 2 boards all of a sudden. Right?
That's very
So there's a possibility we might be sitting here at 9:15.
Well, the other thing, when the Adele rule was passed, the meeting started at 7 and not 6 also.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, carrying on, we need to do this discussion of the board cases, where the members be discussing. On page 8, y'all look on page 8,
Page 8.
under D, where it said discussion of board cases. Aaron, would you cover that? As far as
Board
letting
members
everybody know?
are refrained from discussing upcoming matters of business with any parties other than other board members or any meeting. Yeah, that's the thing. You gotta be careful not to discuss that discuss.
What page you?
Page 8.
Page 8.
Yeah, if you were to say, if we were looking at something,
Yeah.
and then we were looking at referral rezoning, and you ride out to the property, the property owner walks out there and says, Mr. Glasser, are you, Mr. Malcolm, are you on the land? Yes, sir, I am. Well, let me just explain to you why I'm wanting to do this.
Don't go out there.
So this section that you're looking at is for quasi judicial hearings.
Yes.
So,
But bottom line is it's best to stay away from.
good practice, yes, is your quasi judicial is where you really have you can't have any ex parte communication, and that's a big conflict of
Because
interest.
you don't know what's gonna happen, so you show up to
Right.
you drive by and you're like, oh, look at that. I don't like how it
And you
looks.
discussed in your training session, we talked about the differences that you know, the quasi, exactly what Kelly just said, you technically, legally can talk to people on legislative decisions like rezonings, but it's good practice
It's
in your
just best not
combined
to.
board, just not.
Because I believe this board is gonna go forward to be the best ever planning / whatever we are, board. We're not gonna talk about it, we're not gonna be influenced by it. The Board of Adjustment, our position and most of us were on that board. Some of you guys weren't there, but we didn't do that. And it's very important not to make a decision based on what you see. The evidence is the evidence, and when they come in here and they bring it, that's the evidence. And sometimes it was tough because you might think, well, I don't like that, but nobody said anything to contract it, so it's like contrast it. So it's like, okay. So just be mindful of that. We try to stay away from looking at the situation.
Now, if someone comes in here and presents a situation, and I happen to be close to this.
Exactly. Yeah, been there.
Do I recuse myself and let the alternate?
Well,
What-
that's something I want to talk about, on the conflicts of
Yes,
interest.
sir.
If we can cover that.
Absolutely.
It basically says,
So what page you on?
page 3.
3? Yeah. Go back to 3, boys. Go.
On the second sentence under C, if you result in a private benefit to him, and then you give 3 options of that private benefit. So basically, you're wanting us to bring up anything that we may have a conflict with, and then once we bring it up and present it to the board then votes on whether or not that is a conflict or it's not a conflict.
Yes.
So the board helps us decide, but
Right.
if you know
Right.
anything, then you need to go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, it goes on to say, if you are found to have that, then you need to basically leave the room.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that's something the board, we carried that over from the old rules.
Yeah.
I don't think, statutorily, I don't think there's anything that says you have to leave the room. But I think that the prior Board of Adjustment, and I think the planning board had this in their rules and procedures previously as well, was they just felt it was proper for, if somebody had a conflict, just to go ahead and leave the room.
Right.
That way they weren't in there. There
Well,
was
you
no
don't want it to
perception
look
of
like
any-
that you could possibly be influencing anybody else on the board by your presence.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
It can be tough at times because, these 2 guys right here and I sat here when a former county commissioner walked in, who voted for us to be on the board. And we had to hear her case and it was like, well, okay. Oh, I don't think none of us liked her, but we voted to support her.
But now we-
But
in
it
all
was one of those situations where we had to make it, if all 3 of us left, there wasn't gonna be a board then.
But in her defense, she did allow her husband to do it, and
She
she
did.
didn't.
She did, but the bottom line is, it gets sketchy at times. But I think as a board, we can work through that
Yes.
and talk about it.
Yeah, but
We,
it's-
we did the right, can you separate yourself from your relationship with that person, number 1? Number 2, or do you have financial gain? I had no financial gain, did you have? None of us had a financial gain with what she was doing, and it was fine, so that's where we are. Are you going, if she gets a yes vote, is it gonna make me rich?
Right.
No, so that's kind of
And
where.
then outside of that, can you separate yourself from, and just make a sound judgment?
Right.
with
Yeah.
that being said?
Well, the best way to do it is what I do. I put myself in place. If I was down there presenting,
Mhm.
how would I feel if I knew so-and-so?
Yeah,
Right.
And I mean, the bottom line is, you want people to feel like they're treated fairly.
Yes.
right.
And if that takes removing your presence from the room, as long as they feel like they're treated fairly, that's all that matters.
That's what matters. At the end of the day, we had a case that came before us, a number of years ago. Good gracious, we've been around a long time, but, it was the case out on, Ray Road, and that's the case that caused tremendous turmoil on this board in the past, with the Walmart or whatever. And, the lady that was fighting, and she did not like me, and I was chairing at that time. And then they came back with an alternative, and she walked out that night, and she said, I'm so thankful that the Board of Adjustment is doing what it's supposed to be doing going forward. So, we did the right thing, and she was like, she didn't like me, she didn't like Mark, didn't like none of us, but she she realized that we were finally doing what she thought was right, and it was right, but in the past, she didn't think it was right, whether it was right or not right. But that's the bottom line. If we do what they tell us to do, because they're all the people that, and we try to do our very best to stay on top of it and not get ourselves involved, because it's hard, because we're politically appointed.
Yeah.
Every one of us up here are appointed by somebody, right? And so it's, you know, and it's very important to make sure that, and yeah, so.
So there's never a situation where someone presents a situation or a case, however y'all, whatever the proper terminology is, that we confer with each other. It's always when we have a vote.
Yeah, well, we do confer with each other.
Sitting up here, we can.
Yeah, once if it's a hearing situation, we close the hearing and then we talk, right? It's like we're talking right now.
But
And you can say
you
what
should
want to say.
always be here to do it, to
Yeah.
where the
Yeah,
cameras
don't do it-
is
Don't do it
on.
before the meeting or after.
Because
Yeah.
if the people asking for something found out that you had sat down and discussed it with me or whatever, that
They
wouldn't
weren't
be
there.
right, because they wouldn't know if that swayed anything other than what the evidence showed.
So, yeah.
And it wouldn't be right.
Right.
Okay.
That we've talked a long time before, a lot. So once the hearing's closed and we sit here right now, just like we are right this moment, and we talk about it, we can talk for an hour if you want to. We can discuss it and we can talk about it and we can cuss and whatever, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, one thing we need to remember too, that you've got two different boards. What we're talking about
Yeah.
now is part of the Board of Adjustment.
Well, yeah,
The-
both of them
Well, but yeah, but you could
both
do
of them
the-
ultimately, but the Board of Adjustment has more of a standard.
Legal, more of a
A little
legal.
more of a legal standard, but
Right.
yeah,
More of a
but
legal
both of us,
thing,
it's gonna be
Two different
fun.
boards. I thought we had combined the two boards.
Yeah, we
That's
are.
correct, but
We
we-
have two different issues that come before us.
Two different types.
The Board of Adjustment will
Two
require,
units.
and I'll help you with that
Okay.
when it comes, but it requires a little more evidence and a little more different decision-making. But either way, we make decisions just like we are right now. The
But-
hearing will be closed, and we can talk as long as y'all want to talk. And we'll discuss it, and we'll fight it out. You can call me crazy, and you can call Mark a brilliant man. and
Well, the main thing you need to keep in mind is, as long as any information we receive right here together, all of us together, then we'll all be, we've all made our decision based on the exact thing that everybody here knows.
Don't bring something else. Don't attempt to bring something from outside because you drove by that day and you saw it. If you do that, you need to tell us you drove by and you saw it.
Okay.
Before we get to that point, because that's very important, because yeah, I say that for the Board of Adjustment side, but even for the non-Board of Adjustment side, I would prefer that we all know where everybody is. Let's all look at it the same way in some way, but there's less legal requirement on the side of the planning side as there is the Board of Adjustment side. But, and I mean, there's people out there that are just all upset because here we are, but we're gonna be more, I think this board's gonna be stronger for evidence than past boards of planning than we may, than they may have been, but, anyway, yeah, I think that, and am I legally, we're okay?
Yeah.
She's the woman that's got all the answers. Let's listen to her.
Can't argue with that. Yes, so you are one board, the land use board, so you are a planning board. You will function as a board of adjustment when those type of cases come before you. So your standard for board of adjustment hearing is quasi judicial hearings, so they're more like a courtroom. There's much more, it's much more strict than as you're functioning as a planning board. So that's when you get your no ex parte communication. So that's just a little bit of a higher bar that you have to, more formal, just more rules you have to abide by. including no ex parte communication, no doing your own research. You can for a planning board, and it's not great practice, and I think that's what you're getting at.
Right.
We prefer that you make your decision based on what you hear, instead of doing your own research, talking to your own people. That is absolutely not allowed in a quasi judicial hearing.
Right.
So that's just how the two differ, and we certainly will get more into that in any questions you have, because you are doing both functions, and it is going to be more difficult than just being a planning board or just being a board of adjustment.
Now, one of the big differences between the responsibilities of the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Board per se is that anybody that speaks on the Board of Adjustment, quasi judicial, has to be sworn in.
Yeah.
And the Planning Board, you don't have to, they can just come up there and
Right.
speak and say what they want to.
Right.
So that's two big differences.
That's very
there.
true, and, you know, that's exactly what she said, you know, if you're coming here as a, and we'll talk about that, when cases come, I'll say, this is a planning board issue, this is a board of, I'll try to, like tonight's issue is not a board of adjustment issue. So people that come aren't gonna be sworn, they're gonna say what they're gonna say, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and that's fine, and you can hear it, and you can believe what you wanna believe, but if it was a board of adjustment issue, they're gonna be sworn. So whatever they say, they're sworn, so if they lie,
It'd be
eventually,
cross-examination.
yeah,
It's
they
much
can be
more like a
cross-examined,
courtroom.
and there's the Superior Court, there's the Supreme Court, there's all that. It can happen, and it has happened. So there's a whole different bird there. But personally, I think we should take everything as, my opinion, even though it's not sworn testimony, just be mindful of what they're saying, and hopefully, even if they're just talking about, hey, I'm gonna rezone this, and it's not a planning, it's not a Board of Adjustment issue, just be careful to listen to them, but remember, they're not sworn, so if they lied, they lied.
Now,
As
do-
you
do we
function
need
as
to-
the planning board,
Yeah.
you're making recommendations to the
Right.
Board of County.
We don't have our decision on planning board issues is not final. The Board
Well-
of Commissioners does that.
Now, do we
Yeah, as
need
Board of
to,
Adjustment, you are approving,
Right.
denying, you are.
The Board of Adjustment
the
part,
decision
it
maker.
either, once the gavel hits on a Board of Adjustment issue, if, it goes to court from there. The
Goes
Commissioners
Superior.
have no control.
Superior Court?
Really?
So it's a big deal.
So do we need to change the terminology if we're like in one meeting? Okay, guys, this is gonna be the planning board meeting to start with. Okay, guys, now we're going to
Well, I
the
think-
Board of Adjustment.
What we're gonna try to do is group those.
Right.
So you'll
Y'all
hear.
said y'all will make sure that happens.
Yes, you'll hear Board of Adjustment cases first.
Right.
And then once all the Board of Adjustment cases are done, we'll go into planning.
She's gonna leave probably. 'cause
So you're not-
she's
So
you're not
going-
if you see me, we're probably in a Board of
Yeah.
Adjustment.
We're in the Board of Adjustment if she's here.
Yes.
So we can't
Except
still
tonight.
refer
She
to
We
leaves.
it.
can use that as a exception.
Yeah, if
you
she's
use
gone-
that'd be a good cue. When Kelly
Yeah,
leaves. we're
when
going
she
to planning
leaves,
board.
you're free to,
You're free to-
Okay, so
but if she's here, it's a Board of Adjustment issue, and that's
if
illegal.
she's here, it's a Board of Adjustment.
And she represents us,
That's right.
Okay.
not, yeah, it's kind of weird, but yeah, she represents us, not the county, and if you have any questions whatsoever, and our attorney, when I was chairing, and you know too, as chairing, we turn to our attorney all the time, because, if there's like, oh, I'm not sure what to do here, that's her job, she will keep us out of trouble and make sure we don't mess up, but it's kind of hard to mess up the planning board part, because, we're just making a recommendation, we're just kind of, we're like, yeah or no, the county commissioner's gonna decide either way, it ain't our decision, it's
But
theirs.
one thing on it, in our training last month, they talked about there will be people that are really
Yes.
gung ho to
Yes.
won't sway you one way or the other, and they might ask you to eat and all that and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suggest not, but
Got a
I
nice
look
boat.
I look at things as perception. And if I knew nothing about these boards, and I'm watching on TV of a board, and all of a sudden, one individual seems to have this great abundance of knowledge about the thing that's being presented,
Which has been the past, by the way. Did I
that's,
say that out loud?
yeah, you shouldn't have.
I shouldn't have. I'm
But
sorry.
that should never happen.
Right.
We should all get the same information at the same time, regardless whether it's planning, board of adjustment, whatever.
Yeah.
Because
You don't
it
want.
just creates a bad perception from the public about what we're doing if you don't do it that way.
Yeah, if somebody calls you and says, hey Clancy, it's like, thank you, bye, just, yeah, call Lee Jensen, he's really cute, and he knows all the answers.
I could sell those people a mortgage though, right?
You can, but,
Okay.
yeah, that's the best answer. I'm not, no, I can't talk to you, but I appreciate you calling, but.
You need a loan.
And I'll support if it's good, or just, yeah, that's the best answer, and, yeah, the problem with the planning board in the past, and I'm gonna say it out loud, it ain't no joke, it's been a political thing, and we're not political. And this board, I've served with most of these people, we're not political. It ain't politics, it's about what's best for Union County, and, bless their hearts, if they wanna try to take me to dinner, I can buy my own dinner, I don't need them to buy it.
I have a question about the
Yeah.
planning board issues. So, you know, if something's like in your neighborhood,
Right, yeah,
and, you know, you, of course, it might not be like across the street from you, but it's in your neighborhood.
you know,
so
it, yeah.
Is that something that's a conflict of interest, or, because we of course know our
What you need to think about is, you know what's going on.
Yeah,
Do you have a for or against thought about it before you come here? Then you should recuse yourself.
That's the bottom line.
If you have
If you have an opinion already, then.
You shouldn't do it.
That's why we have 9 members. We have 9 members for a 7-member board, and if you have an opinion already, then you might want to step aside, because you ain't ready to hear the truth or not the truth. You gotta, yeah.
so in a
That's the
planning
bottom.
board, you know, as well, I mean, Board of
Both
Adjustments,
of
I
them.
understand, but
Same
planning
way,
board,
yeah.
sure, if, you know, something's
Yeah.
in my neighborhood and I envision what will happen, I should probably,
Step aside.
It's something to bring to the board's attention, and as a board, you can discuss when you vote whether or not that's a sufficient conflict. Probably not, if you're just seeing what's gonna happen. I don't think that rise to that level, but it's something for you to talk about, and if that needs to stick to standards.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
yeah,
you're-
Conflict.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think you'd be right to bring it up, and the board, that's part of bringing it up. The board could ask you, well,
Question.
have you already made up your mind? I mean, do you think you
Yeah,
could?
that has
could
happened
opinion?
before.
And if your answer is yes, and the board's gonna say, well, I think you should sit and hear it. But if you have already made your mind up, and the board says, and you answer that question in the affirmative, then they're gonna say, okay, well, we're going to, you know, excuse me. The other interesting thing on conflicts, and I know Darren and Mark have seen this, is it's not just members that can bring up whether they have conflicts. If there's somebody in the audience that believes you have a conflict,
Right.
they can bring that up, and you can actually have a whole, we were talking about it earlier, you can have a whole hearing.
You can have a whole night on that.
We had a whole
issue.
night on that one a long time ago,
Yeah.
on just evidence based on a conflict that the
That can
board
very
member
well
may
happen.
have. then
And
the
we'll deal
board-
with it. It may happen.
Yeah.
I hope it don't.
I hope it
Yeah.
doesn't, but the board then hears that evidence and they decide whether that
Serve
person
another.
should sit or not.
It can be good. It can be fun, but we hadn't had that in a long time. I hope it don't happen. But the bottom line is, you know your heart, and I can't tell you, so if you step aside. But at the same time, sometimes, like, if you got a friend that, thing is, we all live here. Some of us lived here a long time, right? And so, you know who's gonna walk in here tonight and be like, hey, I'm wanting to expand my, property and grow more plants, and my name is Clancy Balkham's mama. Right?
Right.
And, or whatever, right? So, it could happen, and so we have to deal with that.
Well, Do we have to approve these?
Yes, we want to approve these.
Yeah, let's just, we still got about 10
I
minutes.
feel good about these. Y'all feel good about it? Anybody got any
I feel good.
questions?
I
And
mean,
we can
we-
always adopt. and-
We left the removals, stuff
Yeah,
in there.
I think the county did a good job with those and,
The continuance stuff's in there, remember how, but that's just in there for quasi judicial stuff. That's not
I feel
in there
good about it.
for
yeah.
planning board items, just keep
Plan
that
it.
in mind.
I feel good about it. So,
Well, I make
Is
a
there a
motion
motion?
to approve.
Mark made a motion to approve, and we're not gonna do a second because we don't have to. That's right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we're gonna take a 10-minute break. Is that okay? Is that okay with you?
Yep.
We'll be ready to go.
Oh, yeah, you wanna just go ahead and adopt your schedule?
Okay, we'll adopt the schedule before we take a 10-minute break. So the schedule is, we're gonna be here on
So it's in the back of your,
Third Tuesday, so.
Item 2.
yeah, we got it all right here. Well, it might change if we have to extend, but these are the meeting dates, which is the, what is it? Third Tuesday?
Third Tuesday. night,
Third Tuesday.
6 o'clock.
Third Tuesday, unless we have to add a meeting, we will. So we will meet on third Tuesday every month, unless otherwise told. That might mean we don't meet.
At 6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock, might mean we have to have another meeting, but we'll do that when we have to do that, but, right? I feel like we'll probably meet every month, but,
probably.
so there's gonna be something.
It might not be board
In
of
the
adjustment
past, there
every
wasn't,
month.
there wasn't. I mean, the Board of Adjustment didn't meet every month, but planning board did. So between us all combined now, we'll probably meet every month.
Yeah.
And if we have to have another meeting,
We can do that.
so, that's our meeting, the third Tuesday of every month at 6 o'clock. Everybody okay with that? We have a motion?
Yes. We did.
You motioned?
How much?
Rick motioned? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll meet back here at 7 o'clock. Is that good?
Is it good if we go outside? We go outside? I don't want to grab a hold of me if I go outside. I need my glasses. I come flying here on 2 wheels.
We noticed. Did they turn that off then? Did they turn,
Yeah, he's
turn the
doing it
cord
now.
off?
Is it turning?
Yeah.
I was gonna suggest we get 2 hats.
Yeah, literally, right? That's an unusual setup, but. why not?
Karen, we could get 2 hats.
Sir?
We could get 2 hats so we know what we are,
Yeah.
you know.
Board of Adjustment.
And
Planning board.
then one with a
Board of
beanie with a.
Yeah, there you go. Get that robe. Hadn't really done that. Only the last meeting we had, I think, since I've been on the board, a couple of years. Usually, God, by
Just so you're
8
aware, we're
o'clock.
still live because we're not able to pause it. And you're welcome to like come back here if you prefer, but.
Well, I remember I made the presentation for
Yeah.
the night flight. And I remember there was discussion going on back and forth, because some of the guys were here with the original permit. And
Yep. Yeah, usually it doesn't take that long.
just happened to men to pick up the permit.
I really apologize. Did you see my email? I said about 45 minutes ago? We made that up.
There you go.
1 hour ago, I realized I made a mistake. This is our first.
So you weren't on the planning board
I thought their meetings were now going to be at 7 p.m. It turns out they're at 6.
Can be interesting.
This is the first meeting they've been going through rules.
But
So they're just suspended for 10 minutes.
I've been fortunate to be involved in a lot of stuff. I was in
Would have
the
showed up.
county,
Heard and I was going to the applicant. So the good thing about it is everything that we're going to talk about
stormwater
is all done. So they're queued up for us.
They don't meet very often.
Yeah, so apologize about that. Just that, whoa, what happened?
And that was when I was over facilities with Northern Dorothy. SAF.
Well, planning board, historic, they just got.
I'm actually a mortgage broker, so I know a bit about land use. Probably see more appraisals than most
I
people.
was like, no, this is at 6. So, we had to do the stuff. But it'll be
G gas turbine
Thank you.
for quite a while. Got to go with a lot of training stuff.
Yep.
Went to USC in California for earthquake engineering.
Interesting.
Went to Baton Rouge for radiation safety officer training.
Wow.
Harvard School. I brought all my stuff and gave it to him, and he went, whoa.
Good.
But I've been fortunate to see a lot of stuff, be a lot of stuff,
Yep.
do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you only get one life. Yeah, use it well.
Yeah.
I've moved around a lot. This is, I've been here 7 years, the longest I've been in one place since
Oh, really?
I left my hometown, many 40 years ago. 40 years.
I've been in Union County 23 years.
Yeah, I'm hoping to make that. My kids go to school, so I ain't moving anywhere.
How old are your kids?
Late start, 9 and 10.
9 and 10.
I know.
Wow.
Thought I got away with it.
So you're going to soccer and baseball?
And I'm the one that works at home, so of course, you know, I get to do all that stuff.
Cool. Well,
They're okay.
I'll tell you, they grow up fast.
Yeah, they eat a lot, but they clean up after themselves most of the time, so.
Cool.
I'm an old dad.
Season.
Yeah, I don't think I would have had the patience in the normal time frame. That wasn't my thing back then. Waited until I was 50. That's from back here, in case you didn't know. It's back in here. Toilet back in here.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
How do you do that?
I found that.
Okay.
Okay, Doug. I pretty well have everybody else's name down pat. The gentleman right here, I was going through the.
Francis Ward.
Say it again?
Francis Ward.
Francis. Where's he from? What next to Woods?
He's from here.
I mean, I know some words out of Branch Way.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Sells insurance.
Sales insurance, Francis. I have to really work at getting people's names.
Yeah, it's gonna be it'll be hard for me, because I gotta learn everybody, and you.
Right. Well, you got me now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sort of
Now,
got.
there's a hot full of mountains out by our field, out on 200.
Yeah, that's my people.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How far out 200 are you familiar with?
Just past 218.
Oh, okay. Now, before you get to 218, if you're going north,
So are you tied to Joel? I mean,
which one? Pokey Joe?
Joel Boken? I
Joe?
think it's Joel.
Joe or Joel?
Joel.
Joel.
Where is Joel?
Huh? Where did you grow up?
Western New York.
Okay, I knew I was
But
getting
I've
on
been
something.
to South since '64.
Well, you carried just a little bit of that with you, Steve. Joel Balcom is out of Balcom Pro, correct?
I have no idea.
I think so. Yes, I know Joel. I think he owns.
I know it's Joel, and then it's us, and then it's, Boyce, I can't think of it.
Little.
Little, all right, and then all the way out is the Balcom Fosters house and all that.
Now, if you turn around and come back, get up there by, when you cross 17, about a mile and a half, 2 miles. I mean, it comes back up. Yes, south.
Well, this morning, 5:30.
There's Balcom.
Yeah,
That's where I grew up. that mill.
I go by there, and I,
Humidity is
My
high,
daddy and
Mike.
Uncle Ken ran that.
That's some of
feed mill all
the
my
biggest
life.
views I've seen in a long
All
time.
of that
Walk across the yard.
Yeah, we heard it.
it's either a Balcom or a Simpson.
We got a little farm back there behind town.
Because, Luann and Doug.
It's in the
Luann's-
ground and all, but cement, but
Cracking, right?
Cracking.
before it got
Guy
cool
that's taking care of
last
the
week
field
at night.
was,
When they get up here.
man,
Cool, boy.
Simpson.
I don't ever get in it, cause I got tubes in my ear. From Joel, but, the wife and grandyoung.
But he does landscape, or grass.
Yeah, landscape.
A 6-year-old
That
is
is.
in there playing the other
I'm
evening.
familiar with that family too.
I said, is it cold? She said, well,
So y'all said you do.
Inside, when I did this, and you were on the I did
that little Denise girl. Yeah, that's terrible.
we got our permit modified.
Yeah, I saw that.
I will have everything.
Oh, yeah, I know who it was.
Yeah, they said her clothes blended in with.
Is this yours?
Yeah.
I be doggone. I always wondered who placed it. I'm gonna come out there.
Now, this is the case, this is the information.
That,
We have stood up
Yeah,
before, you know.
wants me to go over.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
And he'll pretty much go
No,
over.
I know who it was.
I'll be doggone.
No, you'll
that, you can read through that, that's, this is the presentation I did for modifier permit.
Okay.
So, there's the field, we've got, radio control cars.
Okay, so,
We
this
do
time, we have,
helicopters out here.
the next item on our agenda is the, rezoning case CZ 2022-003 learning experience, and I will call Mr. Bjorn to come and talk to us about what this is. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Once again, thank you for your patience. This is a conditional rezoning case called Learning Experience, because the name of the site there is Learning Experience. It is again, a conditional rezoning, so there are a bit of negotiation that occurs with the applicant to bring the best application forward. And in this instance, it's fairly straightforward and limited. It's to amend an existing business that was rezoned to office conditional zoning several years ago to modify those conditions. And what it's going to do is limit the site plan dated May 22nd to include some additional landscaping that I'll get into. They have 5-year vesting of development rights. It's something you have to ask for. And that something we put in all the time on rezonings is that regardless of what this rezoning says, you still have to meet all of our development standards. You don't get to get relief from our development standards through a rezoning as a negotiation. So this is the site plan, and it is, with the exception of shrubs and trees around the perimeter, it is exactly what's there today. The issue was that when this was rezoned, there was going to be a natural buffer around the perimeter, and as I'll show you in the subsequent slides, pictures of the site, there's a retaining wall built around it, and construction of the retaining wall disturbed all of the existing vegetation. Well, this is next to a subdivision. People were involved in that rezoning process and giving comments and feedback on it, and they were aware that there was supposed to be a natural buffer, and so when they saw there wasn't, they let us know. We investigated and recognized that it wasn't there, spoke with the owner, and worked through this process to propose essentially planting a screening to serve as a substitute for the natural buffer. So existing conditions, again, it's a child care facility. Looking south of the site on Providence Road, you can see the installed sidewalks along the frontage of the site. Across the street, you have vacant land, and north of the site, again, sidewalks along Providence Road, and then this one on the lower left, the buffer on the north side of the site, you can see where it is cleared, and you have this large retaining wall. So we had to work with our urban forester to determine what species of trees and shrubs would not only thrive there, but not have root structures that would infiltrate and undermine that retaining wall. So we came up with species and planting density that will meet that requirement. So in terms of development status, again, you have Chatsworth immediately to the east, undeveloped to the west. The site is shown in the middle with the black perimeter. In terms of environmental features, again, subdivision to the east, undeveloped to the west, and the site is in the middle. The zoning, again, this comes from our GoMap site. This is a publicly accessible site. Perhaps one of our future land use board meetings will let you know about all the tools that are available that you can look up information about planning in the county. But we will update our zoning map on our GoMap site to include conditional rezonings that apply to that parcel, so you'll see a CZ going across it. So this is OCZ, and that corresponds to this parcel. You can see further to the south at Providence and Newtown, there's quite a bit of commercial, as well as to the southeast where there's commercial, but it's inside the village of Marvin. In terms of transportation, no changes to what they've already done. They put in a turn lane as a part of the site. They put in sidewalks as a part of the site. They dedicated 20 feet of additional right-of-way for the future widening of Providence Road. That's a standard requirement or a request of rezonings, particularly along multi-lane roads that are going to be widened in the future. So there's traffic on Providence Road. It's going to be funded, or I mean, it is funded. It's going to be improved. I don't put a year next to these slides because I've been wrong. I'll continue to be wrong. It's not my project, so we just put, yes, it's funded. In terms of the land use plan, we recommended approval of this several years ago because the intersection of Providence and Newtown is a commercial node. And this circle is not a precise thing. It's illustrative more than anything. It lets you know what kind of mass is appropriate at that location. And we recommended approval because of that. However, the other residential uses, this area on the east is yellow, which means single family. So with utilities, it's approximately 2 units per acre. Mainly because it's already developed, it stayed yellow. The area to the west, it's largely undeveloped, was appropriate for mixed residential, which could allow for higher density townhomes, even apartments, if the overall situation was appropriate. And then the gray areas are grayed out because they're inside a municipality. Schools, no direct impact on schools because this is not a residential rezoning. Otherwise, we would contact Union County Public Schools for information. They would let us know what the capacity is of the schools in the area. They don't come in and say, this, if this were a residential development, they would not come in and say, oh, this is a 100-unit subdivision. This will generate X number of elementary school kids, X number of middle school kids, X number of high school kids. They don't do that. They will just tell you what the capacities are of the schools that would serve this area. Union County Water, that would be the utilities. It already has access to water or sewer service. In terms of public feedback for conditional rezoning, we require a community meeting. That was conducted back in May. 2 residents attended. They were satisfied with what had been presented. If the residents had come with a lot of demands or requests for the site or the proposal to be changed, the applicant has the opportunity to amend their plan to make them happy. We would then have to review it to make sure that that new plan meets our development standards and works otherwise. But no changes were made as a result of that community meeting. We have received a couple calls since we sent out the letters for this meeting. They were just asking for information about it. Once we explained what it was, they were satisfied. So I would say that there's been no community opposition to the proposal. Municipal feedback, if this is immediately adjacent to a municipality, and it's something more substantial than what this is, like the original rezoning, we would have contacted Marvin and possibly Weddington asking for their feedback about the rezoning. And we would say, this is what Weddington or Marvin think about this rezoning. In this instance, because it was so minor, we did not solicit their feedback. Then the staff report and recommendation. We give positives and negatives. This is very similar to what is in the consistency statement that the Board of Commissioners have to consider at their meeting in September to hopefully consider approval of this. We'll note that, you know, a negative is that what's proposed is not the same as natural landscaping. The natural was meant to be natural. Now it looks more, you know, man-made in terms of the appearance. However, the positives are that it is the land use is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the landscaping does meet our development standards. So because of those reasons, we recommend approval. When I would update this slideshow for the Board of Commissioners, I would put a line underneath with the Land Use Board recommendation, and you could recommend approval, denial, you could recommend some sort of change to it. They could, if they really like the change, they could say, hey, applicant, are you willing to make that change? And if it's something minor, that could be taken care of on the spot. If it's something more significant, it would essentially have to go back through the site plan review process. So making amendments on the fly is something that is not to be taken lightly, because it has some ripple through effects to the whole process. So that was a little bit longer presentation because I was explaining how the rezoning process goes and how a slideshow and a presentation and staff report is formatted. You have the same information in your report. This is just more condensed. The applicant his representative is here to essentially present their information. I know that we have 2 people signed up and both relating to the site, so really both could be considered applicants. And so it's your discretion to have them come up and speak, provide information.
My big question is, why are we here?
You're
How
here.
How did this happen?
This
How
happened.
did they get it built and this wasn't?
Because we didn't, in terms of not catching the landscaping in the first place?
Yeah, how did that happen? I'm just asking,
Sure.
How did they build it and we didn't deal with this ahead of time so they knew what they were doing? I feel kind of bad because they didn't, apparently they built it, they got approved, and the county, they got the permit, they got everything.
Mm-hmm.
How are we here?
So we do.
Can somebody help me?
We do have a zoning sign off at the end. Zoning administrator generally goes out and looks at the site. It was missed, I guess, on this one.
So this is the county. They didn't do anything wrong.
Well, I mean, the applicant did cut down.
Yeah, but
the
you
trees.
didn't tell them they cut down something wrong, right? Nobody in the county said, nobody said you can't do that
We caught it after the fact.
after the fact. So, yeah, so we missed it. Is that what you're saying? So this is, so they're asking for permission to do something that we missed. Thank you. That's all I'm asking.
No,
And that's fair, right? Am I right?
And we would, if we hadn't had a resident call and let us know about it, we would have never known about it.
Right, yeah.
So what I'm hearing is the biggest issue is the natural buffer that was there was taken down when the wall was put in.
Yes, sir.
And so the contractor should have known that, but anyway, so they're wanting to put the landscaping back in, and that's all we're talking about, is just them putting it back.
That's it.
Yeah,
The
they're
buffer.
they're just trying to
Yeah.
bring it back to
Where it should be.
where it should be, and the county didn't tell them that somebody caught it after fact, right?
Yes, sir.
And
So
you're-
this is our fault. Let's be honest, this is our fault. Can I hear that? Come on, tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that we should have caught it on the
Yeah.
final zoning inspection.
Yeah, so they're just trying to make it right,
Yep.
and somebody caught it,
And the recommendation you guys are making is that all the trees or whatever's going in will not damage the wall or anything, so what they're doing is doing the best they can to get by with what they got.
Right.
That's right.
Sounds like a good deal to me.
Sounds like they're being nice.
Yeah.
So, yes, okay, thank you, sir. Anybody got a question?
You mentioned widening, the possible widening
Oh, yeah.
of Providence
That's another
Road.
issue.
Does that, again, interfere with
What she's gonna be putting out.
Which side's that gonna affect? Their
Well,
side or
the landscaping is not along Providence Road. The landscaping is along
Okay.
the sides and
Okay.
rear.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it won't have anything to
So
do
there's
with Providence Road.
provision for widening the road if it happens?
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, like this lower left picture, I'm probably standing 30 feet off of that
Okay,
sidewalk,
so
20
the
feet off that
20-foot
sidewalk.
buffer then is that you mentioned, I think there's a 20-foot buffer.
Oh, you talking the right-of-way that was dedicated? Yes, that's already happened, and that's
Okay.
reflected in this
Okay.
cross-section
So,
right
They're
there.
good to go with
Yeah.
all that, so.
Yeah.
that's not-
They've upheld their
that's
responsibilities,
not an
yes.
issue. Clancy?
I would have one question. With removing the natural buffer, do you think it diminishes the property value of any of the adjoining property owners?
No, it's completely surrounded by trees already.
It's surrounded by trees already.
Yeah, I think those trees are just on adjacent.
Yes, yeah, there's common area and backyards to these people, to the adjacent homes. There's plenty of visibility, or I'm sorry, not visibility, vegetation surrounding the site already. But it's not on this site, and that's what's missing.
The natural vegetation that was there previously, there was, I don't know about the underbrush, but our process requires, as part of the development plan approval, so not the rezoning part of it, but when it comes to our office to do the commercial site plan review, you have to identify trees that are 12 inches or greater in diameter. And there was a handful, I think, of trees that were in that area. And some of those were taken down. That's really good.
But it sounds like the attempt to put in new vegetation that doesn't interrupt the walls. So,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah, okay. Any questions for Mr. Hanson?
No.
All right. Thank you, sir. We have Sean Coldren right here. Are you? Thank you, sir.
I'm Sean Coldren. I'm with CES Group Engineers. We were the civil engineer on the project. Just here to help answer any more questions you may have.
Anybody got a question for him? I think it's pretty obvious.
No.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wants to speak?
The applicant.
The applicant? Anybody? I mean, welcome to speak.
Might as well.
Thank you. Come up to the microphone, thank you.
I am Shanita Woody. I am one of the managers at the Learning Experience.
Yes, ma'am.
And nice to meet you guys.
Thank you.
And all I have to say is that we're willing, that we are a child care facility. We want to make peace with our neighbors, so we want to do whatever you guys are asking of us to do. And I'm here representing the company so that I can go back and report to them.
All right.
That's all.
I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and I don't think it's going to be difficult. All right, so we have
I make a motion to approve.
a motion to approve the rezoning case.
So there's proposed motion language,
I don't have that.
and if you look on in tab 1,
Maybe I do have that.
the last page of tab 1, item 1.
Okay, I do have that.
The-
So is that okay with you?
There's front and back. The front is language to approve, the back is language to deny. So you'll
Okay.
see, not quite halfway down to this motion, we would ask that you do that motion, make that your motion.
Would you accept that motion? All right.
Okay, recommend the approval of rezoning petition CZ 2-2023-003 submitted by the GS Development DOS LLC to rezone the property appearing on the tax map tax map as parcel number 06-156-003 in the Sandy Ridge Township from 0CZ to 0CZ.
I don't.
OCZ?
What? It's,
From OCZ to OCZ?
yeah, I don't know.
It's not with modified conditions.
With modified conditions
Okay,
and
there you
adopt the
go.
advisory consistency and reasonableness statement for recommended approval. That's my motion.
I like them. I like that. Will you restate that? Okay, that's the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let it be known that it was a unanimous decision to send to the county commissioners to approve or deny. So that's, thank you all for that, and thank you. That was,
Thank you, Ms. Coates.
if they're all that easy, Mr. Hanson, you will
No,
get
they're
bonus. Sir. Okay, with that, we also have, we've already talked about our meeting schedule, but I think Mr. Hanson wants to talk to, you have anything to tell us about the future of the world in Union County, or is there, I think there was something that said something about, I don't know, am I crazy, but it said planning staff report.
That's
The
usually
2020
when we
meeting, do you have anything to tell us
usually
about?
if we have a detailed
Well, I wanna-
discussion about something, then we'll have that on the agenda.
Well, I want to hear Mr. Hanson tell us about all the road
Well,
circles.
let me-
I need to know all about
One-
circles and
One
stuff.
thing I would like to note is that at the Board of Commissioners meeting in September, there will be a presentation with a little more than 40 strategies. And
Wow.
Mark Tilley's familiar with some of them.
I know, he's
For
thrilled.
the comprehensive
We're
plan.
not sure about that.
And that may not happen either in September.
It could happen, but it
Yeah,
might
so
not.
it's gonna happen sometime in the near future. It's been getting shifted.
Mark's problem?
But what I'm getting at is that came from the planning board last summer, and that's an action, that's a responsibility that the planning board has to make recommendations for modifications to the land use plan or the UDO. So that's an opportunity to essentially change the rules that govern what goes before you or how you interpret adopted plans for proposed developments. And there's 6 different topics that were addressed. Mark was on the committee for school siting, and he made a recommendation that schools now go for a special use permit. Right now, they're allowed by right in all zoning districts in Union County. One of the issues that we had concerns, that the committee had concerns over, was relating to the siting of schools. And he said, well, why don't we have this go through the Board of Adjustment so that we can have a board look at this and see if it makes sense from a adjacent land use perspective, maybe utilities, maybe transportation, and have that body make that decision. So that's an example of how those committees and the recommendations of the planning board affect what you actually do in the future. And so there's a range of strategies that are gonna go before the Board of Commissioners sometime in the near future. And we don't know how, we obviously don't know which ones they're going to approve, but we also don't know how long it's gonna take for them to approve them. And a lot of them involve changing the ordinance language. So they're gonna go before this body for a recommendation for how to change our development standards, that then go back to the Board of Commissioners for approval. So you'll play a role in these things. You may say, where did these all come from? They came from last summer, and they've just taken a while to get back to the Board of Commissioners.
Can I reflect on that a second so and bring back my memory a little bit about that proposal? When a school is a school, whether it's public, private, whatever. And basically, they are really not responsible for any street improvements to a degree. Well, our county schools and they want to put what they call, I think, a stacking area where the traffic goes in. They don't want traffic jams out in front of the schools because it could create problems. So other situations, you have to depend on those people to do things. And there's not really a lot of requirement on it about what they have to do. But if it goes before a special use permit, a board would have the opportunity to put stipulations on it that would help traffic and other mitigated issues. Like we was talking about tonight, the vegetation, and like we talked about so much that came up in that, but I think it's a good idea.
So that's, thank you for explaining that, Mark. So that's just one example of 6 different committees. There was litter, there was rural character, preservation of rural character, there was cluster standards, stormwater, broadband internet,
Right.
and then school siting. So these are a variety of
I would
strategies.
just also just say that going forward, there's gonna be opportunities for all of us to serve as the county grows and does things. That I served on the 2050 plan, and there's gonna be things where you have an opportunity to, because of your knowledge here, they're gonna ask you to be there, and so Bjorn would love to have you show up. Also, just so you know, Bjorn is the man who understands all Union County traffic. So if you want to know why there's a circle,
We had 3 last night.
why there's a circle on 200 and 218, that it's not really a circle, he's the man.
Well, it's a peanut.
Yeah, it's a peanut. So he's the guy to talk to because he understands all that stuff. And so we're very blessed to have him, and thank you, sir, for being who you are.
I
and,
get thanked every other Wednesday, so I'm good.
Well, I know, and that's, you don't get thanked a lot, so I'm here to, every time I can, I'll thank you, I'll try.
Thank you.
And of course, Jim's not here.
Well,
but
yeah, Jim's not here, and
he will be for Board of Adjustment.
And Lee is here, and we love Lee, but, I mean, you are beyond, so. Sorry.
Hey, before we go, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
The gentlemen that were sitting out there, were they wanting to speak tonight?
I don't-
What I
they
spoke
did.
with them, they represented the church across the street from this site, and they just had questions about
So
what the
they were
rezoning
good.
was. And
They
were
so
good.
I spoke with
Okay.
them, and once they understood
Okay.
what it was,
They
like,
were
oh,
good.
we're good.
And,
I just didn't want to be disrespectful.
No, they
No,
were.
yeah, they were, I think
were
they
good.
left happy.
Yes, sir,
It's
they were.
not a big, I think it's pretty obvious. Okay, so there's one other thing. There's something that this board goes, there's a representative that goes to something? Do we need to appoint someone? Whatever.
Yes,
I need
so,
to understand
so
that.
this,
Don't know, I don't.
the majority of, for transportation planning, the
Right.
majority of Union County and all of the municipalities are represented through the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization. It's called
Right.
CARTPO. So if you hear CARTPO, just know that's where the money flows through for projects that come to this area. And the policy board, essentially the governing board for that body includes an elected official from all of the member jurisdictions. It's Commissioner Brian Helms for the county, and the CARTPO wants to be more inclusive and holistic, so they allow for a planning board representative from Mecklenburg, Iredell, and Union counties to be a member of this board. Probably our best member was Russell Wing.
Right.
He attended those meetings. He really enjoyed them. It's where big picture discussions occur. It's where a lot of decisions get made. And honestly, one of the most active and vocal members of the board is one of our smallest jurisdictions. It's Mayor Rick Becker from Mineral Springs. He's been going to these meetings for years. So just because you're there next to someone from, the mayor of Charlotte, it doesn't matter. If you have a good point to make, you are at the table with everyone else. And it's a really important body. And so as a planning board, you have the ability to appoint someone to serve at these meetings. They meet monthly. During COVID, they were virtual. They're back to in-person. However, you do get fed. I typically go to the meetings. They're actually meeting tonight. So that probably make some conflicts in the future, make some issues if someone wasn't the attendee, because now we're like systematically conflicting with CARTPO meetings. But that is a member that we have, that is a slot that we have available. And I actually just realized in real time that these meetings may in fact systematically conflict. So I'm not sure how to square that. No, I'm talking from a planning board member to serve as a representative. So that's just something to be aware of. That's how the sausage gets made for transportation planning. You have the ability to be a part of that, but if your meetings are now systematically occurring at the same time as them,
So you're not gonna get to go either?
well, we'll figure
So
it
do
out.
we
If
need
I'm
to
on
talk
the
about-
agenda, I probably would go to that one. But if I'm on the agenda for this
Well,
one.
I'm just saying,
maybe
do
I
we
won't
need
go
to
that
look
one.
at changing our agenda, our night, because that's important. I don't want Bjorn here if he needs to be there.
We have, for rezoning items, we have staff members that can present to the planning board. That's
So
not-
Bjorn doesn't have
Yeah,
to be here.
It's
But
more about,
if we wanna
it's more
send one
about
of
this
us here,
board.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
Yeah, if there was a member off of this board on that, then there would be a total conflict.
Yeah.
And does the business that's done at those meetings, is it from meeting to meeting, or is it it's completed in one meeting?
They almost all, the CARTPO has a general rhythm to their presentations where month one will be information and kind of chew on it.
So you can't alternate, one person has to continue to go to that.
I think you can have an alternate, I think, but I think,
Yeah,
I know the
you
county
can-
has.
you can.
I know that Mr. Helms is the but somebody else.
Yeah, and he does have an alternate.
He
That's
does have an
absolutely true.
alternate. So if
yeah, you could as
if we
well.
appoint one of us, the other, we can appoint us.
Yes, you
a
can have,
separate
you can have an
person.
alternate for the
But
land
if
use
it's the
board.
same night we're meeting, that's gonna be a whole big issue, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
Their meetings
So-
are at 6 PM, so it's perfectly conflicting with
It's
this
gonna be a
board.
big problem unless we change our meeting date.
Yeah. But that's what
But
that is.
that's a
and-
that's a pretty important thing, because you're talking about planning for traffic and roads and stuff forever.
What was that open date that we had that we was gonna save for a while?
First Tuesday of the month. That was the.
We could move our meeting to the first Tuesday. Is that a problem?
No, we can do it.
Anybody got a problem with the first Tuesday, or
Kelly, are you?
anybody on the board got a problem with the first Tuesday?
I have a board
Okay,
meeting every Tuesday, first Tuesday.
okay.
I feel like I remember during the discussion, maybe we talked about somebody else. on the
Anybody?
issue of first Tuesday as well. We could, if you guys wanted to think about it, I mean, we've adopted a schedule,
Yeah,
so we could continue doing that. They could amend their schedule if you wanted to at a later date.
well, what if we did this, if we appointed, they don't have to be we could appoint one of the Balkans if we wanted to.
You could do, yeah, if one's supposed to.
Yeah. Y'all okay with going to Charlotte?
Oh, sure.
Are y'all okay with?
Like
I'm asking
downtown?
Huh? Well, I'm just saying, if
What you gonna be
they're not
saying?
gonna be, if they don't have to be an alternate that night, they could go to that, and that's what I'm saying. I don't, there you go.
But you won't always know in time.
I know, it's gonna be a problem, but.
I think the way you look at it, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, it's
We do it the
a
same
mess.
night.
It's a big mess.
I think it might be best to
I was just trying to
think about it.
Here before I go somewhere else.
Honestly, if you have this meeting at this time, it's not the end of the world if the planning board representative doesn't
Well,
attend the
I'm
CARTPO
concerned
meeting.
that you're not there, though. That's
Oh,
another
well.
big issue.
Lee and Jim know what they're doing, and we're
Well, I understand.
and we're training Janet and Matthew to do these as well. So honestly, necessity is the mother of invention, and we'll just get better
Well,
at
can we-
having other people do it.
Can we bring this up again?
Yeah, we-
Let's talk about it and look at dates, because I don't like that personally. I don't.
Maybe
go
y'all
out-
can research another date that.
Research a different.
Look at.
Date, and we can all talk about it, because I definitely want him there, but I think, honestly, one of us should probably be there too, but definitely he needs to be there, and he don't need to have a conflict.
Is there a date to stay away from Wednesday nights? Darren, I know.
Wednesday's not good for me at all.
It's not
but-
good for me either.
Okay.
What about the second Tuesday night?
I'll have to check with Lee. Oh,
Commissioners
no,
meet.
we got that's Monday.
That's Monday, so
Right. I could check with Lynn.
why don't you bring back
Yeah.
next meeting, nights this room's available, and we'll talk about it. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
And then we can talk about who we'll send, but I need him there, because he's the man. I don't want him to be conflicted too. Because there are gonna be some issues where he needs to be here.
They'll have a Carpo agenda item for September.
Yeah.
Here.
There's gonna be issues where he really needs to be here, and I don't, yeah. Because I mean, I ain't saying you can't handle it, or Jim can't handle it, but there's gonna be
If it's
times.
transportation related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needs to be here, so I don't want him to be conflicted. He probably needs to be there the other night, because he might have got us $1 million for a traffic circle on.
That was yesterday.
Ms. Cope, is that acceptable with you? Then we'll bring it back and then see if
All
you're.
right, let us know next month, and we'll talk about a meeting date. Maybe it might work, to change our meeting. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion with adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's been fun.
Now, guys, we leave these with her. She'll
We
take
leave
these.
those, yeah.
We can have the guts though.
If you take them home with you, they're gonna steal them. You won't get one next month.
We don't gotta sign anything now on this board?
What about our transportation thing?